One of you is a full-frame camera that steals money out of your wallet at night while you sleep. The other, a little Nicky boy who would never steal anything from you, it only gives in return. We have the ultimate battle today, my friend. Does Nikon beat everything on the market today? From full-frame to action cams to everything in between.
All I want is the perfect camera. All I want is the perfect camera.
Do you realize that one of these setups you're looking at is like 10 times cheaper and the weight difference is surreal at best? Can you guess which is which? Right now, we're on the little Nikon Z30, pitting it against the A7S III from Sony Universe and the Zeiss Batis 18mm. Frickin', I prefer that. So I brought a bunch of cameras with me, some action cams and a secret camera that I just got that is way too exciting to even think about right now. I have to do some breath work, and then later on in the video we'll see if the Nikon destroys it. But we'll talk about the comparisons and the advantages of each of the systems versus Nikon. There are no advantages to Nikon. Nikon wins. So I must say, hot damn Nikon, I have made fun of you for, I don't know, since the inception of my channel, and rightly so, rightly do, because you haven't been making too many inspiring things on paper, but I must say, the spec sheet is often wrong. Using the camera, oh God, I'm literally, what are the odds standing in his parking lot? That's not what they're called driveways. Oh, the odds were not good on that one. Sunday morning, were you drinking all night? So on paper, the Nikon system is not really bringing much to the table. It seems like the Nikon Mimic Monkey just brings you the same thing. He just copies. Like the Z6 was an A7 III, and it's like, cool, but like bring us something new, man. Oh, hey, little buddy, what's that? A Z50. It's not that great, though. Work on it. Maybe change something. Do you have anything else? Oh, wow, he's fast. What's that, a ZFC? Same specs though. You just changed the body. That's weird. Do you have something better? Z30. It's like the same thing though. Like you're not doing anything. You're just changing the body around. Ow, he's scratching my eye. So that's what I've noticed. Spec sheets don't necessarily matter. The Canon EOS R was a joke upon release. A 1.745 times crop in 4K. And it's like 720p for slow-mo. It's like, what the hell was that? But one of my favorite cameras to use. So Nikon Z30, right now we're just in standard profile with my own tweaks. Some guy sent me a recipe. I was like, no, they're close. They look really good. Standard is nice. But we had to lower the mid-tone sharpening, in my opinion, and put dynamic range boost right up there. Look at that. Look at it. And we're in digital stab. That's one fault of this system. Not very stable, even if you're careful. But digital stab is okay. Where Sony shines in comparison to this, like, what do you even get for the money? It's the autofocus, even though that's super shaky as hell. You can catalyst browse it, and it's amazing. 4% crop, and it's like the most stable thing, but it degrades your image down to 720p. It sucks. The autofocus, very reliable. This kind of hunts sometimes. I'm still tweaking the settings, not really sure what to do. I'm lowering the speed and keeping it more locked on, because I've noticed it hunted a couple times, whereas the Z50 never did. So for whatever reason, the monkey just like scratched out the wires of the Z50 autofocus and put it in the Z30. It sucks. But hot damn, if you just look at it, it's like Nikon color science, superior to Sony. Dynamic range? If it's on par, I will puke. Because we're talking 8-bit, 4K, 10-bit, log. This is just a standard profile. But that dynamic range boost, hot damn you. What are you doing to me? Sony, you suck. Why do you suck so much? Your only saving grace right now is potentially you have a 3D pop look with this badass versus like just a kind of cheap kit lens. Thank you for finally focusing on me. But like for vlogging, I'm starting to realize nobody cares and it doesn't matter at all. So it's like, this is fun. It's so much lighter and funner. But this has log and 240 frames per second, 4K 120, best specs ever. For vlogging, not the best. You're going back in the backpack, bitch. All right, now before we bring out our next contestant, it's already out, it's in my pocket. I want to see something. We're in standard right now. I thought if you got this camera, you'd be shooting in flat at least because it's more dynamic range. I don't think it even looks better, but let's switch to it and see. Side rant. Every time I switch something, the sun changes. And then so we switch to this new thing and it's like, okay, now let's see what this looks like in completely different lighting every single time. It's so annoying. When I did that Freewell ND filter and mist stuff on the Action cam, it's like, okay, let's switch to this. And then it was freaking clouds in the sun. Get along. So is flat better? This is flat now. It should have more dynamic range. You should be able to grade it, but I find standard looks fantastic. Thank you for the tips, my friend, the guy. His recipe was almost perfect. In fact, it probably looks better than what I did before. Let's switch back. Now, can this camera even kill off the little Sony X3000? Of course it can. Nothing could. We have it side by side. I did have to crop in due to the vignettes of the Sony, but if we're being realistic, nothing has even come close to contending with the Sony X3000 for its size, at least. Hot damn, you are beautiful. It's just the vignettes on this stupid 3D printed piece of shit. Oh man, some guy messaged me saying he printed his own 3D thing, and it was like, oh, it works great. Is that hard to do, 3D printing? Should I get into it? What do you have? I don't understand it. Like, what do you have to do? Like, what is it building? Do you have to buy, like, a bunch of plastic? And then, like, you always have this supply of plastic, that dog. But when it comes to Nikon Z30 versus Sony X3000 type of thing, man, like, I don't know. The Sony's much smaller. It will actually fit in a pocket. Usually, I put it on the backpack clip anyway, and it's so fun to do. It's just, you plug a lav mic in, and it's so hot. It has many flaws. It's not that sharp. The menu system's a little old. Sony will never update this thing ever. That's sad. When they could take over the market, imagine something that's competing with DJI Action 4 and GoPro 12 and a Sony. They could be taken over, but they're not. So like, Stabe's still the best. Still fantastic. The image, not bad. Color science, terrible, but you tweak it later and you'll live. I just wish the Stabe was a little better in this Nike boy. Even with like the lens Stabe plus digital, I don't know, it's not terrible and it's realistic somewhat. Like, it's better than warpy corners with terrible IBIS back in the day, like a G9 with the Leica 8 to 18. That was like bad to watch. Whereas this is, it's a bit shaky, but it's real. Is this still recording? So nice try, Nikon, but you didn't defeat Sony. Don't pretend you did. You're not defeating it right now with the lens flares and the thing. It's fine. It's fine. This is good. Sony looks great. Still today, I think. It could. Let us move on to something a little more modern, potentially keeping up with the Nikki boy. Now, don't pretend that you see a difference in image quality right now. You think, oh, Nikon's so much better than an Action cam. Are you fooling yourself? Are you lying to your family? Oh boy. Nikon on your right? I switched hands. Oh, the oldest trick in the book. I got you. I got you good. I stopped down the Nikon to 7.1. 7.1 Tonys, huh? That's a dog. Why do people buy those? Little side rant about DJI. One of my favorite cameras I've ever used. Fantastic. Love it. Zero complaints, except the several that I'm about to mention. Freewell reaches out, creates a mist filter for me. I'm like, wow, amazing. And then I try out their NDs. I'm like, cool. Yeah, imagine that. You actually get friendly motion blur. Do you? No. I made a video yesterday on my Vegetable Police channel thinking of like, oh, I'm going to be so cinematic here. I'm going to put an ND on. We got 1/50th of a shutter. Fantastic. It's unusable stabe. Just glittering in the sky. Tree highlights. Blooming. Frickin' unusable. What is the point of a ND filter on an action cam? I don't get it. Because you can't use them. You would have to use a gimbal. What are you going to buy, one of those Hoya things? Is that what the company? They sent me a bunch years ago and I was like, these are the worst things ever. They do nothing. I'm just curious here. Tony 8 on an APS-C is like what? Tony 11 or probably more. Does that look decent? Is there 3D pop? Is everything in focus? It's like, I kind of do this on my Sony. I stop it down to Tony 8. It looks pretty good. Tony 11 was a bit much. I couldn't tell if I was in focus or not. Whereas maybe it's okay. Versus, honestly, 3.5 is too much background blur. It's a bit much. Even on APS-C, it's fantastically funny. Oh man, so I think the sweet spot might be 5.6. Not bad. You're sharper now. Every lens is sharper when you stop it down a bit. Huh. But compared to action cams, it just looks better, doesn't it? It's a nicer image. You get a little dignity, and it's so light, it's almost like an action cam. It's kind of like so light. I don't think you can get lighter for a system. The action where you thrive is stabilization. Just so much better, as long as you keep your shutter at 1 million per second. That's how you read that out. But like, DJI, pleasure. Once you put the glimmer glass, we got the close focusing filter on, by the way. Just, I wanted, if I did a side-by-side without it, you would see like, oh, wow, that's so out of focus, the DJI, and it is. That focus hack is a life-changing thing. Thanks for exposing for me. Never. Never. Honestly though, it's not even a comparison. This little tiny DJI Action does 4K 120 10-bit versus 4K 24p 8-bit with worse stabe, and like your autofocus is iffy, whereas this is always out of focus, which is nice. It's at least reliable for failing. So it's like, man, the better specs, 240p is tiny, the battery probably lasts longer. I bet you Nikon has the better dynamic range, just because DJI refuses to expose for me when I do this. Nikon brightens up your life. They like you. They're kind of like Canon in standard profile, at least. They expose for your face, they leave everything else alone. An action cam will fall apart in low light, whereas this, with your 3.5 aperture, you'll be seen in the dark. So like, there's a lot of flaws to the tiny thing, but honestly, if you're just vlogging, wow. You get the hyperlapse too, you can't really do that on this. There's a lot of fun to be had in the DJI system. Okay, it's time for the boss battle. Let us switch to the new camera. Just arrived yesterday night. I cannot wait. It's the first time I've ever even turned it on and recorded. My God. Have we ever witnessed such beauty? I don't think it's possible to. A Marcus Pix delivery shipped faster than I've ever seen. I think he sent it on a Flamingo. It was there the next day. Don't know how that happened. He keeps telling me that, hey, buddy, shut up already. Why are you whining about this Canon R8? It's the worst camera I've ever had. You want it? I hate it. We got one of the better gifts of all time, Canon R8. A Marcus Pix delight. We're on the Voigtlander 20mm 3.5, manual focus, digital stabe only, C-Log 3. Oh boy. Oh boy. And switching to the Nikon, no lighting changed. Definitely wasn't a cloud that just went by. Every time. So Marcus just said like, hey man, do you want this? I don't want it. Like, you keep mentioning it in the videos. What are you doing? So it comes with the 50mm 1.8 on there. And I was like, what? What are you doing? So now we have that. I have so many ideas now to be comparing that cheap 50mm budget thing versus my Zeiss planar 50mm 1.4. A little EOS R versus this. Little comparisons. Frickin' the 24mm, how will that do? It's overwhelming excitement. We're at 5.6, by the way. How is just digital Stabe doing? Trying to be careful here. I'm trying to convince myself that this is okay. It's not bad. It's not bad. I thought of this little combo. Nobody has even offered to buy this lens in like, I don't know, 8 months trying to sell the thing. And I'm like, it's a nice lens. It's just like I would probably never use it for vlogging because the 24mm is so much nicer in the studio. It's like, what's the point of having this? But now, maybe. We're at 5.6. Just because you can. You can. There's 3D pop. Don't make me stop it down. The problem with stopping it down is I would have to reacquire focus. The cool thing about Canon is, and Nikon also has this. Oh, what framing. This is the best. They have a little focus thing that goes on your eye, and then you can tell if you're in or not. I'm getting further and further away. There, so now what you're seeing is 3.5 on both APS-C and full frame. That's the difference there. Nikon's a little wider. It's an 18mm versus 20. Both have digital Stabe. Maybe Nikon crops less. I don't know, it seems a little wider. How's color science wise? Who's doing that? Nikon? I gotta be honest with you, I'm blown away by Nikon colors. I often thought I might be. Dynamic range. Canon doesn't expose in C-Log. This is the main flaw of Canon that I've seen. When you're in C-Log 3, you can't change the metering and it's only for the highlights. And you're left to die in the woods. But in standard, if you were to switch to it, which we might try that, it'll expose for your face. Face priority exposure, oh yeah. So like, I don't know, man. Have you seen a camera that we've tested so far that has destroyed this little Nikon Z30 from Aiden Camera? Are you going tonight? The Black Friday sale's likely over. I hope you bought 7 cameras, even though you only needed 6. But I tell you, if that Canon Stabe is decent, we're full frame, the lightest full frame body on earth. You're very carefully walking a Voigtlander lens. Nothing's better. Voigtlander, Zeiss, Leica, those are the top 3. It's like, oh, you could not do better. Let's switch over to standard profile. Let me get into the sun. Oh my God, an old chair. That's like a king's chair. Oh man, could you imagine my videos filmed on that? It's wet. Immediate regret. Okay, now we're in faithful profile with a couple tweaks on the Caney Boy. So this should be the ultimate fair comparison. We're both in a just standard, no log, no flat, no nothing. But watch now. I hope it does it. Eventually it'll do it, I'm sure of it. I'm sure of it. It's gonna expose for my face any second now. I know what I'm talking about. Shit. It's not doing it. It's kind of wanting to do it. You can feel that it wants to do it. I'll leave. I should mention, Nikon has animal detect autofocus, but I've never seen it actually put a box on one. I'm gonna try in slow motion, but the box just doesn't show up.
you and me.
So the advantage of this, obviously your full frame, better low light. Stave is probably about equal, if not superior, you know? And you can get like really nice lenses, 1.4s and stuff, and wow, your blurry background for the studio. This would probably be a better studio cam, but I might have just bought something for you. Something. I might have actually bought the camera too. You don't know that I didn't. It's just fun. Like, why wouldn't you want this fun in your life? So like, I saw a deal, I had to pounce. But the R8 has HD 180. Fantastic. 4K 60, no crop. All this fun stuff, HDR modes. We'll test it all another day when we compare it to the EOS R. But thank you so much, Marcus Picks. I'm gonna have a lot of fun with this one, even though it was destroyed by my recent purchase, the Z30. So, not bad, Nikon. I'm waiting to see like a video-centric full frame. See what you got there. Or even a pro body like this. Imagine this with log and stuff. Probably worse. It's just so light and fun. That's what makes it fun. So, well done, Nikon. Links are available everywhere down below. Who won the battle today? X3000, of course. Anything that says otherwise, I delete your comment. How you doing? Subscribing for more videos. I'll see you next.